Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Let me do that over because I think I would have had a spotty start because my phone started to ring right when I went live. So let me do that again. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Cutting Edge. My name is Felicia Holder, as my little label at the bottom says, and joining me, as usual, is Limma McLeod. Good morning, Lims.
Good morning. Good morning. Good.
Good morning. Good morning. Apologies for the later than usual start. I we started taking calls on the program, and the phone that we take calls on was not charged up this morning. So I just had to run and get the charger to make sure that we are all powered up when you guys want to call in. And we'll be taking calls at around 7:45. The number to call in is 471-2888. So you can save that. I will put it up on the screen as well so you know when you can call it. Well, you know when you're ready to call in the number that you can reach us on. If you're just joining us on the live, share. Help me share the video because I want to give this video my full attention, and it takes, well, sharing the video takes my attention away from the program. But Lims and I have a very lively discussion
Yes,
via
mommy.
video. I think Lims on the phone. So while she's on the phone, I am going to take a second to hit share and share it on my news feed, share it on my WhatsApp, and I ask you all to do the same. You're back, Lims?
Yeah, my mom called. And
Parents.
yeah, but my dad had a stroke like a while ago, so I need to ever so often run upstairs to help her with
Check up
certain
on them.
things. And then a certain time, the government has a program called GAP, which is some assistance for elderly.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl usually comes a certain time
Ah,
to go upstairs. So that's why sometimes you'll see me have to leave to go and get the dogs because the girl for the dogs is like, whoa.
to free them. I don't know how you wicked. I could just see your face when you.
And sometimes people, when they come by the gate, don't stand up here, stand up on this side because one, he's trying to like fit through the little space in the gate to get at
Try and get that. I mean, I don't think there would be a dog that could be there. I'm trying to say, I don't think there is any. What I'm trying to say? That dog is your dog. That's basically what I'm trying to say. A dog that's trying to fit to the fence fits the profile of a dog that Limma McLeod will have. Yeah. Seems fitting, and fitting it is. I saw your video yesterday, and for those who don't know, yesterday was the anniversary of the day that both Limma and myself and 27 other members of the Progressive Empowerment Party contested our first general elections. We made history. Our names are in the history book. First time the Progressive Empowerment Party contested a general election. And, well, was the third largest option in at the time. Something that the media did a very good job of ignoring or hiding, however you want to put it. But we did it anyway. And yesterday was the anniversary
Yeah.
at occasion.
And I see Faris had put out a statement saying thank you. And it's like, okay, a whole year has passed and what the hell have you done besides collect rent?
I was driving my mommy car yesterday, and she's having stations, set stations are like I-95 and 98.1. And I was listening to the channels, and I guess I landed on 95.1. And I guess it was a PNM sponsored program that was on. because it was a whole tribute to them and to the year in government and the fact that, you know, it's we time now. And I listen to these songs because the songs singing about, bigging up the PNM and great is the PNM. And I'm like, what are they really celebrating after a year?
That they won. And
Oh,
because it's about, for them, it's about winning at all costs. That's all it is. Because they are the only ones who win. Their supporters don't win. Nobody else does win.
and that's it. What did they win exactly? What did they win? So we celebrating a year, and Limbs, I want to talk about your video because I watched it. So you tagged me in it yesterday, but I finally got to watch it this morning as I was getting ready to come to the office. And everything you said was spot on. Everything you said for our vote. What have we had in the year? Every election, local and international, after a year, they review the performance of the government. They usually do it within the first 100 days, which is where they get the opportunity to get their feet wet. But then they usually do it after a year, giving them, you'll have had enough time to be in office, to implement things, to get the ball rolling. What have you done? Fahim Kam said they won the treasury. I guess that's what they want indeed. But after a year, what has happened? What has changed in Trinidad and Tobago for the better? And yes, and like you said in your video, Lima, yes, it's a COVID-19 period. Yes, we are in a pandemic. But outside of that, what has really changed for the better
And
in this country?
if you watch how other countries were managed, you realize how poorly managed we are as a country. Because if Japan could still have COVID and still have Olympics, it means that we are doing something wrong. They didn't shut down that. If other countries were able to have their athletes still trained to be able to perform at their best, their 100%, it means that COVID didn't stop these things from happening, and we shut down literally everything. So that means we managed poorly.
We did, and in your video, you made so much sense when you said, had we locked the borders really and stopped those foreigners from jet setting, not foreigners, those elites from jet setting in and out, we could have created an economy inside of our economy, and I just saying that to say our local economy would have become or supplements external tourism as we would normally know it. But think about it. How much money do we actually earn in tourism as a country anyway?
Outside of Canada?
Outside of Carnival and Tobago, outside of Tobago, because Tobago
because we are managed poorly, I wouldn't assume much, because you don't advertise the assets that we have as Trinidad and Tobago. So therefore, outside of Carnival, those Carnival booths should be left up permanently, because during the year you still have Carry Festa and you have all those things, right? So around Emancipation, you could have had the boots up, you could have had your shows in Napa. After you finish Napa, you walk across to the savannah and you could have get whatever you wanted from the booths, and all those people selling food in the savannah itself. We could have had a museum per se where they show you how to make long time things, how they used to make bread in the mud hut ovens, and all those things to show you that it is our culture. And people doing outside fireside cooking and all these different things. We could have done that. They could have also had something on Independence Square for those people who wanted to have their little food trucks or their carts or whatever, and you just organize it, space it out, social distance everything, and have it orderly, clean, the bins all over the place, public health inspectors working to make sure things getting done, police in and out as well. And then you have that across the country. So DB would have had the strip, and you name it certain things to make it. So DB, you could have named it DB strip. The cross in San Fernando could have had another one. Arima could have something. Chaguanas could have had something. And then you just roll with the different holidays that we have. So Eid, you would have bring out all these sweets, say wine, all these different things. For Diwali, all the other sweets, Parsad, and all that. We could have done that. They could have bring out the amusement park, the local one, put it in the Queen's Park Savannah, or the North Stand that is not in use right now, and they would have had something to do there as well. You cut the bush, you light up the place. Trinidadians love to eat. We like to lime, so therefore that is what we would have been able to survive on. And you just give everybody that opportunity who want to sell food, whatever. You just tell people, try not to sell too much of the same thing. You don't want 10 people selling chicken and chips. All those people who went culinary school that they closed down now, who can't get chef jobs all over the place, and they could get a little spot and come out and sell their fancy whatever with 2 strands of carrot sticking out and some sauce drizzle all over the place and it looking nice, and you're like, okay, yeah, let me try this guy thing. And when we used to have restaurant weekend, that used to make money.
I did.
Right, and then they used to have this other one where they would have who could cook and all these different things. Men can cook, blah, blah, blah. And you could have little things like that all over the place too. Point 14 men could cook. Separia women could cook, whatever. And we could have do things like that. We could have been innovative. Down to Parliament could have showed that the men could cook versus the women could cook. And you have it outside Parliament, a soup kitchen, and everybody come who brave enough to try it. Come and try, whatever it is they have to eat, and you get a free meal.
So basically, we could have had a country that was still running, where we didn't have to shut down everything, where we didn't have to put so many people on the breadline, where we could have still sustained ourselves and survive a pandemic without grinding our economy to a halt.
Yeah.
And without they say hindsight is 2020. We literally, this wasn't even hindsight. We had it. We had all of the information and we knew what we had to do. Yeah. And we didn't do it. And as a result,
and the fact that you knew that, okay, we on a drain for US, then no problem. But why are you stifling food companies from getting this US rather than car companies? Why it is Kia Motors and Toyota and all of these places getting the bulk of the US to bring in brand new cars instead of places like PriceSmart? Massey only selling us at a local thing all of a sudden. You tell me all of a sudden Massey give a damn about local people stuff? Please.
The reality is it's getting too expensive for them to bring in these things, and they're bringing it in and it's too expensive to pass on to the consumer, so it's staying on the shelf. So it makes more sense to not bring it in. But you're right. Why is it so expensive to bring in things into the country? Why is food so expensive? Why is importing things so expensive? I was talking to a friend last night who said on the port now, customs just seems to be doing whatever the hell they want. They get ruthless. They're pricing items way outside of your pockets. And it's like they're telling you shop local and they're digging out your eye here. Now you're trying to circumvent all of those problems by bringing in your own things and they're making it hard their face. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Customs is of the Ministry of Finance. So they will be getting direct orders from you know who. So people need to understand that. So don't blame customs, blame the Ministry of Finance, because they have a right to regulate them and get them in order. But then, yeah, that's probably a plan. Because when Manning was in office, Manning didn't rehire customs officers until years after. So he made customs understaffed, under-equipped to deal with certain things. And now this government come and you're trying to make customs look like they're lazy, they're incompetent, they're just doing what they want. Basically like how they want to do WASA, so you will have an excuse to privatize. Remember, they wanted to privatize customs. This revenue authority was BIR, in Inland Revenue, and customs would have been part of that.
It would have fallen under that previously.
So this is what PNM does: run it to the ground and say, okay, well, the only way to fix it is to privatize it. We up to now, then they say they want to privatize the port. The port is up for sale. Who are the people who are interested in buying our port, Trinidad and Tobago port? Why does the people of Trinidad and Tobago doesn't have a say in that? This government just hell-bent on doing what they want and then passing it off on us and saying, well, that was the only option. No, that wasn't the only option. That was the only option PNM thought of, because you're all bankrupt of ideas. But that was not the only solution. You could have done other things. Why didn't you make the port more marketable and more like an actual port where they open right through and we transship everything else other than the drugs? Okay, if you could transship drugs and we could transship packages leaving South America, clothes, shoes, food, whatever. So again, you're not utilizing the full ability of the port to make us make money.
A year and a day today after the last general elections. And I mean, the role of Limana is not just to complain, but it's to point out these things that every Trinbagonian should be asking. All of these things that we are asking at some point in time, even if it doesn't affect you today, it might affect you tomorrow, or it will affect you tomorrow. Not might, because all of these things eventually create a domino effect that we all as Trinbagonians end up feeling. And right now we're feeling the weight or the burden of poor decisions that were made in the handling of COVID-19. I don't like to keep repeating this over and over and over, but when you're hearing the retail industry bawling because they have to wait another week after the lotto booths get to reopen so they could reopen, so they could hustle to make something in an economy where people don't have much money to purchase things anyway. So these retailers can make some money so they can put food on their tables because they didn't pay bills in the past 3 months and they have children to send to school too.
But in the first place, how lotto more important than retail?
That's a question, Lama, that I mean, we will joke about, but I swear it baffles me.
Because you have your nurses working 24/7. You don't think your nurses will need to buy some panties, some bras, new shoes, new socks? They're working right through. Police too. You don't think police need to buy socks, gloves, I don't know, new things, regular things that you don't take for granted that you're running out of?
Order them online and pay 10 times the cost to bring it in, because that's just where we are now. And that's the reality. That is where we are. That is literally where we are. People talking about the devaluation of the US. I don't think they know what that means if and when that is supposed to actually hit us, you know. It's so hard to get US now. Things so expensive now. What's going to happen when that is our new reality?
Right. Look, Lady Spice is saying the size of the tax revenue coming from NLCB the country would need. Okay, and look, they open it and plenty of the lotto booths cannot open because they owe in NLCB.
Yeah, and that was such a funny thing to read.
And that's not
funny, ironic, because they said they took the money and what they did with it, they used it during the time when they were closed down.
I don't even know.
Yeah. They basically said they used it any time of the pandemic. So now they owe in, which is something that I didn't even know could happen. But apparently it could. Doll said $2 million could have pump into the children to get them back out of school. Yeah. It could have. But where is it going? Limbs, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I called you yesterday actually to talk about it. I called you on election day because I was gonna call you as the MP of Port of Spain North St. Anne's West to make a very serious complaint that a road that has been boasted about and has been paraded on Facebook and videotaped and pictures were taken and poses were striked. The road outside St. Francis Girls College. What's going on there?
I
because,
mean,
because yesterday when I drove on it, I was literally driving on air. The road is a jigsaw puzzle and pieces are missing.
and
What's
a
going
huge chunk of it has like dropped right outside the drain from the school. It like dropped, it's missing, and
It's
the road just
missing.
raised up like when you kick a puzzle and it just raised up. That's just what it is. And there's a big hole right in the middle of Waterman Road that cars have to either go to the extreme left or the extreme right to avoid. And yeah, that's left foot and right foot.
Yesterday when I was passing there, a young lady was at the side of the road, and I keep seeing her doing this. She's like, I'm pointing at me, and I'm like, what is she doing? What is she trying to say? Not noticing. She was not realizing, sorry, she was trying to guide me away from the jigsaw puzzle whole scenario that happened in there. Because that apparently the road had just sunk and I had to literally go on the far right to drive around. But in driving around it, you're still driving on the road because it's all across the road. It's
Yeah,
just some parts worse than others. And
yeah.
every time I pass there, I'm like, where is Nicole Young? Where
She
is
was
Stuart
there
Young?
yesterday. She was there yesterday with the corporation workers and whatever because she finally used her brain and went down in the drain to see what was causing the blockage in the back of the school. After I have said so many times that
Mm-hmm.
that is the only solution. That is the only way to know why the water comes out of the river
Yeah.
instead of staying in it. And this is what they have to do all the way through. So they have to get a team to go down with boots and full CSI outfit because they will have to walk the full length. Because if you think the blockage stops there, you lie. Right further down, it probably have way more. They have to go down in all of those drains and see what is the problem and clear it out. Because all you have a problem with garbage disposal and saying all year as in PNM because they don't pick up garbage properly. I shared a picture and I showed at the bottom of Leon Hill steps when this is why garbage just get washed down because people have no bin to put it in to secure it and contain it. So when rain falls, whoosh, it goes with the water. And then stupid people will say, all you're littering. No, jackass, your government not doing enough to contain garbage, to recycle it, to keep it out of the waterways. Yes, it have nasty people who you would see kicking garbage in spot or whatever, but you just see it on video and yet till you wouldn't send your litter wardens out to give that person a ticket and educate him as to why not to do things like that. You have garbage traps that you could put along the way. If you put things like that, you have to go and clean it and remove it ever so often and change it. Why they're not doing things like that? You have all kind of traps that they have invented that corporation workers just self give their opinions and say, well, you know, you could do this, but why? You don't take them on because you think they're stupid and they're illiterate and apparently they don't make sense. So you wouldn't think to listen to them. And that's our next problem. They don't like to take advice or listen to people. It's the same way with police. You ask them a question because they can't answer, they get vexed. And they want to flare up and get on with you. It's like, calm down, Tracy Exie. Whoa.
Way Lemoy went for the jugular there.
But that is how it is. When I have seen it where men would say, officer, excuse me, but why all you don't do da 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 da? Anybody talking to you? Hush your mouth. I was like, who are you talking to, sir, partner? I've seen some of the females so too for the candlelight vigil. That is not what happened, blah, blah, blah. I was not speaking to you. It's like, okay, fine, Tracy Exie. And she was municipal police, so that was really just Tracy Exie's intros.
Moving on from that, where are we in the lineup? It's 7:32. I wanted to touch on Olympics, and I forgot to do it on Monday. Olympics wrapped up on Sunday with 0-0 for Trinidad and Tobago. The
According to
first
Urvashi,
time
a big
since
fat zero. I wonder if she could run from Citygate to Park Street and try it and see if she could get a
who's that?
medal.
Who's that?
Urvashi, she
What she
said a
said.
big fat zero. Big fat zero. Like, athletics is, easy and you don't need to train. You don't need proper guidance. You don't need a coach for those things. You could just run, easy as one, two, three. These ungrateful people. If you know how that upset me, it's like these athletes went out of their way to represent this country amidst all of the problems and the shutdown and everything that happened here. Jareem Richards, I read his post where he had to run in the street to train, so they couldn't open one of the million stadia that they're building all over the place and tell him, here what, train, get your coach, you go there, you can social distance. The stadia is big enough, all of them big enough where they could have trained sufficiently. Why we just do our athletes this and then expect 150% from them? And then when they ain't thing, well, all you do shit. It's best we don't have nobody to represent us.
I did not hear anybody, and so if they did, this is news to me. I didn't realize that anybody or people were slamming the athletes themselves.
What's her name? Michelle Liai said she was disappointed in Trinidad and Tobago's media because, again, they said we went to the Olympics and we didn't medal in anything and we got a big fat zero. That is disappointing because when athletes try their best and they come back and they see that, how you think they're going to feel? Like, yeah, my country supported me and I was, yeah.
Even though a double slap. It's a double slap because we sent them to the Olympics unprepared. I wouldn't lie. When it got postponed from last year and it was postponed to 2021, I thought it was a bad decision. But I mean, I don't know nothing about sports and managing a pandemic. I thought it was a bad decision globally because it would put some countries at a disadvantage over others. Those that could afford to have their athletes train in individualized facilities in the comfort of AC and butlers serving you your mineral water and diet supplements. Those who could afford to do that for their athletes, of course, they would be able to.
Again, Felicia, these people, Shamfa is not a good minister of sport. She doesn't have a clue about sports. And you could have seen that when she was talking yesterday. I mean, if you could understand what she was saying, she doesn't have a clue. Most of these sports are club oriented and we need to get it down to the community. So what do you ask for your building community center for every friggin' where if people can't go and see and have training for football, cricket, swimming, whatever? What is the point of all these community centers then?
Shamfa's Minister of Sports, I think, and is laughable.
That is a slap.
It's a real laughable, and it's laughable because the point of bringing up the topic this morning and the comments made by, well, the point of bringing up our results for the Olympics wasn't a highlight that we made zero. It was the highlight that we made, or we got 0 medals from athletes who went underfunded, underprepared, and who were represented in chief by a minister who knows nothing about sport.
And clearly does not
reflected. It was reflected in our results at the Olympics. This is the first time since 1992. This is the first time in 29 years that we have gotten nothing.
Not a medal, yeah. And again,
none of our athletes are to blame. None of them. Every single one of them should be given a medal. They should be given medals just for showing up.
How you could blame them though? Could any of them do anything any one of them do? No. I can't run to save my life. And I'm not going to try it. So I would give Michelle Liai and the men's team and the women's team 100% of their props because I can't do it. I can't go and throw javelin. I could swim, but I ain't going to be as good as our athletes.
The person who made the comments about our amateur, he said that we had an amateur approach to athletics, and that left us trailing. Ato Bolan was the person who made that comment, and I have mad respect for Ato Bolan. I know
I was reading
little
a
to nothing
comment
about
just now about somebody saying that, besides he was coaching for something, but what has he done to the thing? And it's like, how you can blame Ato Bolan for pointing out the obvious? Blame Shamfa. Why doesn't she have a team of people who can help her? Why didn't she say, okay, we're going up for the Olympics, let me get people who actually were in the sporting arena in Trinidad and Tobago and see what they could come up with? Reach out to Ato, you could have reached out to Hazley Crawford, you could have reached out to the athletes itself and asked them, what do you guys need?
who is Ato Bolan?
Together.
Ato Bolan is...
We should have asked her if she know who Ato Bolan is.
No, but for those who don't know, Ato Bolan is the lead track and field analyst for the NBC Group. He was one of the top commentators in the 2021 Olympics. And I'm saying that to say Ato Bolan, our own medalist, Olympic medalist, our own Trinbagonian, Trini roots, not Trini roots, Trini born, our own Ato Bolan, who has now led not a Trini, but a Jamaican to her first gold medal in this Olympics. Brianna Williams, congratulations to her and congratulations to Ato Bolan. Ato Bolan is her coach. He trained her, and I watched every day on Facebook her progress, and I watched the dedication and the time and the commitment into training her for the Olympics. And every time I watched him do that, I had two questions. One, what are we doing with our athletes? And two, how is he not our Minister of Sports?
Because clearly you prefer incompetence over somebody who actually knows about friggin' sports. Because I would have picked anybody. I would have picked anybody who actually play a sport as sports minister over Shamfa. George Bovell, anybody. I don't care who it is. You run a race, you win. I'm sports minister over Shamfa. Please, what are we trying to do? Go back to the Stone Age? She doesn't know anything. And she doesn't have the will to do anything about it, because bet your bottom dollar, if I was sports minister, before Olympics, I was having this meeting with all of my athletes or their coaches or whoever. All you need, let we go, because we need medals. And if we have to get all you ready, we doing it. And open every stadium and all you train. Even if it's 4 of them in the stadium, 5 of them, the stadium is big enough so that they could have all trained in one damn stadium. You could have social distance. And you really think COVID going to be like, yeah, let me run to keep up with these athletes? Really?
You know what's going to happen, as always inevitably happens? We are going to see or lose more of our athletes. So there's a brain drain in terms of those who going abroad to study and pursue higher education and be doctors and lawyers and engineers and fly planes and go to space and work in NASA. The trainees who leaving to do that, and then there are the trainees now who are going to leave to go to countries like Jamaica and Japan and China and the United States and Canada that actually invest in athletes. I could imagine what it feels like to be a track and star athlete in Trinidad and Tobago. I can imagine just how frustrating it must be to be a cyclist or a gymnast or a swimmer or any athlete of any kind in a country where your Minister of Sport is Shamfa. I mean, I can't even say it properly, because that is a slap in the face of everybody who would have put blood, sweat, and tears into training and perfecting their profession.
And it goes back to, since this government has come in, not this term, but last term, the downfall of sports, because we used to have zonal sports, north and south, where everybody going in the stadium and the
I remember that.
Why that? That is where you would know your athletes are. And then if you open your community centers and you get coaches out there, and you spend the money because you know Trinidad and Tobago is balanced with academia and sporting. So the best way to know where your sports athletes are is in the schools. And then those same schools in the areas, you send coaches in the community center. So these same children on weekends could have things to do during that time too. So they could do their schoolwork during the week, and on weekends they still have that where, okay, I'm doing good in school, I'm also running because I like running. So even if you say, okay, at the end of the secondary school, you realize, okay, I really not into academics because it's just not, the academics is too hard for me, but I'm good at running, I'm good at athletics. And that is your new journey on life there. Athletics, and you could have made something of yourself and become something after that. And then when it's time for you to retire from athletics, and you could have become a coach, you could have done something to improve yourself so you wouldn't be stuck and wondering, well, what am I going to do now after?
You would see the timeline of your career progress
Yes. And now we could
these
rehire you as a coach for some primary school, for some community that needs a coach to train all them children how to think. You could, as I did a post and I said, you imagine that if we had proper sporting coaches and emphasis on it, all them little boys who like to run from bullet could have been running for gold medal all now.
But that's true. That's true. And I mean, instead we took sport and we politicized it. We turned that into gangs too. We made it, we corrupt it, and I say it at the base level. Of course, there are those who climb out of that cesspool and are able to make something of themselves. Those such like our athletes who just represented us. And I want to say congratulations and kudos to every single one of them. I know you went there and you put your 100% best forward. The fact that you were not equipped, the National Association for Athletic administrations, they as well have to take some blame because they are responsible for the preparation of our athletes for Olympics. But then again,
that there was no consultation, Felicia, none whatsoever. None.
It goes all the way to the top because those, and that's the point of having a minister, and that's the point of having a board, and that's the point of having people responsible because they are supposed to guide things, they're supposed to put things in place, and we can't blame the pandemic, and we can't blame COVID-19, and we can't blame money because basically what you sow is what you reap, and we reaped at these Olympics.
Yeah. Look at how our football is. Our football get like the what? What is the point of our football team anymore? They're not even putting emphasis on that again. Where our athletes, where we scouting for our local players. But look, all of the local players get snatched up by foreign teams. So obviously we have good players, and other countries have seen, okay, these people have talent, let's take them. So why are we not recognizing our own talent?
That must be so, to be an international headhunter for sports and athletics must be such a dream job when you come into countries like Trinidad and Tobago, who treat their athletes with scant courtesy, who you could basically offer probably the lowest contract package that they could take, and they will say, yes, I go on red, white, and what? Hello to the new Jamaican flag colors or something else, or what, or another country.
If I was sports minister, on top of pushing our athletes to get better and have every opportunity out there to train and be good, I sorry, but I was going on that plane too, all are we going Olympics, all are we going?
It's 7:46, guys, and I did say that we will open the phone lines at
Felicia, come in. Back.
At 7, yeah, no problem. I did say we would open the lines at 7:45 to your phone calls if you would like to call in. And I just want to, circle back on that topic of the Olympics. And I will always ask the question, why is Atabola not our Minister of Sport? Because I watched what he did with Brianna Williams. Brianna Williams is from Jamaica, who he coached and who he just led to her first Olympic gold medal. And I mean, watching the progression of her career versus what I see happening, and I'm not that intimately linked with the sporting world of Trinidad and Tobago, but you don't have to be or have your ears very close to the ground to know what's happening. And even before the Olympics came up, like I was explaining earlier in the show, I knew that the athletes weren't going to go in there prepared. I knew that they were going to be at a disadvantage. And of course, you want to hope the best. You want to hope the best for them because you know that despite their struggle or despite what they had to overcome to get into the Olympics, that they still did it. The fact that they qualified in the first place is tremendous, but we don't want to just settle for um second place and consolation awards. We want our athletes to excel and we want them to excel and put Trinidad and Tobago on the map. We're not supposed to be on the map for all the bad things. We break all the bad records, every single one. Top 10 on the corruption index. What else? Crime. Oh my God, how could I forget that as the number one bad thing that we know about? We have more crime per capita here than countries that have been war torn. And to say that about a country that has 1.4 million people is saying a lot. We can't just be known for all of the negative things. Yeah, there are good things like carnival and liming and doubles and roti and palori and kalu. Yeah, of course, there are these sweet things that we love about Trinidad and Tobago. But even those things are being corrupted and corrupted from the top down. Those dogs agree with me. Like I say, even those things sound like real prices went up. Even those things we have managed to change. It really, really, really unfortunate what happened with our athletes, and unfortunate is a euphemism and an understatement for what should probably be chalked up as a sporting crime that we perpetuated against those athletes. But like I say, kudos to them for making it in the first place. And all I can say is the next Olympics, which is 2020, I think they're pushing it ahead by a year. So it's going to be 2024. The next Olympics, that's going to be 2024. Hopefully we do a lot better. Hopefully by then a snap election would have been called and PNM is no longer in office and we have an administration that is really going to take sports and the sporting world and show the sporting world what Trinidad and Tobago really and truly has to offer. Welcome back, Limbs. Myself and your dogs were carrying the program while you weren't here. The girl was passing.
Yeah.
Your dogs are so bad. Oh my gosh, they wouldn't even let the girl pass. We did not. Oh, guys, the lines are open. Did I say that? Yes, 4712888. If you would like to call in and say good morning. I wonder if our Cricks and Milo guy gonna call back. He will always be my favorite person. He's my favorite person this weekend. For those who don't know, a guy called on Monday and said that Lemon I are like the Cricks to his Milo, or the Milo to his Cricks, something like. On a morning, he likes to watch us, which is basically what he was saying. What else? What didn't we talk about? What's left on
the police video where the police groped the girl?
The police video where the police group the girl. I like the explanation for that. I did not know about this video until Lima brought it to my
That is
attention this
what it
morning.
looked like from the. It's a good thing that guy videotaped because I mean, why was his hand there? I don't get it. For
For
those
those
of
who
you
don't
who don't,
know, there
there
was
was
a
a video,
video.
there is a video circulating of a female, and she's being arrested or subdued by two male police officers, and a male, probably a relative or somebody she knows is videotaping, and they are. An officer is already holding her behind her back. Her arms are behind her back, and the other one is trying to hold her back, but his hand is just happened to be here. And then in the video, you see his hand actually do this, like pass it.
And I need to watch it because I only saw the clip from what Lima showed me on her phone on this screen here um before we started the live. But from what I saw, trying to understand why his hand needed to pass all here.
Let me see if I can show you it. Right, watch it. Watch it. You see where his hand pass?
Was he feeling for contraband? Was he
So
feeling
what they
for
need to ask her now, from the front of the video, it could have been where his hand passed, just in front but not touching her. But his fingers looked like they were sore because she kind of has big breasts. So it looked like there, and then it did that. So I would love to know what is TTPS position on sexual harassment, especially the commissioner. I would love to know what the gender-based unit would have to say about that, or any female police officer for that matter. I would love to know what their take is on sexual harassment. I mean, the stories that I have heard, I realize it's kind of rampant inside the TTPS, where senior officers have their newbie, they're female, and nobody's supposed to touch her, nobody's supposed to go around her. I've heard of these stories. I told a friend of mine, well, it's best I go and join the police service. And I said it as a joke. And he literally got mad at me, and he said, if you take God out of your mind and ever join the police service, I will never speak to you again.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, why? He said, because you see how you're nice, you're pretty, you're small. He's like, they will try to take advantage of you. He's like, and yes, you will say no, you will try all how. He said, but at some point, they'll break you and they'll get to you. It's like, and somebody will own you in that station.
Own you, you say? But what he asked is this. Maybe that's why we see all of the female officers who we see getting on like hugs. Maybe that's why. Maybe they had to develop that very hard exterior to rebuff the advances of their male colleagues who don't know that no means no.
Yeah, maybe, but the thing is, though, I asked if the males are offered the same opportunities. Are they getting to do this are they being owned by a senior female too? And be in his habit or her man or whatever to be able to be promoted and move up the ranks too? If those, allegations really are true. I mean, I don't want to find out. I don't want to join the be nobody case study and find out if that is really true. But it couldn't be not true for him to say it like that. And I've heard it from more than one. We've seen the photos of police officers, doing all kind of thing in stations and getting compromised photos and all these different things. So, I mean, obviously, some shit must be going on there. I don't want to find out.
Yeah, I really don't. But back on that video, everybody in the comments, they said from what they saw on the phone clip, they seem to think that she was felt up. It looked very suspicious. It didn't make sense that he had to pass his hand there. I wonder what he was looking for. I wonder if he found it.
If the guy was not videotaping, what else would he have done? He would
If
have
he
what?
wasn't able to,
Dirty
I would have
girl? Jeez.
Shada Jamuna said, "Good morning, Lemon Felicia. Keep up the great work, ladies. Good morning, Shada and Deborah and Nigel and Sharina and Doll. Good morning to all of you as usual." It
Good
did not
morning.
look good at all. And somebody asked earlier, where were the WPCs? That's my question too. I do not like the idea of police officers alone arresting female um members of the public. I don't like it.
They said, I think it's law where the men can arrest you, but to me, and they're supposed to have a female in the presence, they could get like
Well,
a female to watch
even
to
if
see or
that's
what.
the law, I think it should be because you are in the presence of male police officers who basically have full authority over you. If you're being arrested,
Yeah,
you
but
can't say,
you
don't
have
touch
to
me
watch
there.
it from the international level too. Abroad, male officers can arrest a female. So why is it
Yes,
different
but
here?
abroad they have body cams and things to protect the people who being arrested. Why do you think we know what happened to George Floyd? And there are consequences and avenues where you can seek redress. Here you can't. We need to have WPCs here because look at that shit that we just see.
Yeah, but if it was a woman doing it now,
A woman doing what? Feeling hurt?
pass her hand over her breast. If it was a female officer now, what
Well,
is the
I
case?
would hope that one of her other batch would say something. And in a case like this, where these two men were there, I would hope that if there was a woman, somebody would have said something. I would hope that somebody in the TTPS or some in the police service, somebody top down would think that something like what we just saw in that video is wrong. And
Well, and
even
you have my batch and your batch, and batch those sellout batch. You didn't see it, you didn't see where some officers will be like, yeah, nah, he thing, like we just not do that now. And then you will see the senior one or the biggest, the bulliest one in the team. No, let we do this and and then peer pressure the next one into being a jackass like him too.
I have had, and I talk about this all the time. I have had my experiences with DTTVS have been either good or bad, and it used to go where if I have a good one now, I know for sure the next one going to be bad. Most of my involvement with women police officers have been negative. There's just one woman police officer that actually no, there are about two that I remember who have been very nice to me. One of them is our girl herself, Miss Mary Happy Diwali on Eid. What's her name? Oh God, I forget her.
Hodge.
I met her when we were having the candidacy lunch for me in Belmont, and I had to go and beg her to block the street. Very, very nice woman. But where was I going with this? Where I was talking about my experiences with the TTPS. I cannot remember where I was taking this.
You will look just saying it. You will see it on a certain show in the evening where a certain somebody would defend them, and it's true. The arm wrestling champion, he would probably, come out in defense and say it could happen. Really, a sexual harassment case could happen too.
I remember where I was going with it when I was talking about my experiences, and the reason why I used to anticipate or very much hate the thought of being arrested is because I know you would probably have to deal with a very hoggish police officer. And there was one time I was driving on the highway and I was on a right lane, and this hoggish police officer on the side of me, he was not hoggish, I can't describe him as hoggish, but he was motioning to me, and yes, he was motioning to me to pull over, and I pulled over. And he came out and he told me, he said, "Do you know that it is illegal to drive on the right hand side of you're not supposed to be in your right lane unless you're overtaken. And I wanted to say, if that was the case, then nobody would ever be driving in the right lane of any dual carriageway. But I didn't say that. He said, I could give you a ticket now, right? I said, yes. And he said, but I have a boat ride next week. If you come, I'll spare you. Say what now?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't bounce up police officers like that. Most of them just be all, well, I just don't generally bounce up police officers. If I go in a station, that's where I'll bounce up some hug female, and I would just tell them, nah, I'll dealing with corporal in the back there. I'd rather take a man pissy attitude than some bitchy female who don't want to deal with me because I'm a female or whatever the problem is.
The first ticket I ever got was from a female, and her male batch were begging her to not give me the ticket because she gave me a ticket on a vehicle that wasn't even moving. I'm like, you have to be a real wicked woman. I went to court and I filed that ticket, and the magistrate laughed. She laughed and she said, Miss Hola, I hope you learned your lesson. I said, yes, I did, Your Honor, but it wasn't even a lesson to learn. It didn't even make sense giving me a ticket on a car that wasn't moving. Sitting down in a car that wasn't moving and I didn't have on my seatbelt. Really? Anywho, so that has been my experience, and
I can't wait to hear what they would have to say about that. Now, granted, you're trying to arrest a female, you're trying to subdue her. She might be, a little violent. She might try to slap you or whatever the case is, right? And your hand could have slipped, but that wasn't a slip. It didn't look so. It looked like a full-on. I ain't getting on last night, so I'm taking some now. And what if she had kicked him in the groin now?
He could have probably subdued her and say she was
and they could have body slam her on the ground and do all kind of foolishness after that because you had no right to that, but you had no right to feel me up so either. You see where the problems could escalate?
Yeah.
That is something they should ask Gary. What are your thoughts or what is your position as police commissioner on sexual harassment? As a matter of fact, they should ask his wife that, because then she's pro-police. Ask the Minister of National Security what is his position on the two of them, the two ministers of national security, Stuart and Hines. Because we don't know which one is which. The A team and the B team.
That's not A and B, that's A and Z, because the two are so drastically far apart. It's not like even one playing tag for the other one. It's just one non-existent and one is the name that you can go in the whole
both of them give you the expression, who? Come on, it's like, really? That's what they need to ask. They need to ask, what your position on sexual harassment, and show them that video and say, okay, what is her position? Or is it because she's some poor girl from some little ghetto community? She don't matter.
It'll be interesting to know what is their position on sexual harassment. Was the TTPS policy on that on a whole? And I mean, they say this knowing that 20 years ago, 17 years ago, a woman went to the police station with her daughter to make a report, and they took her daughter
was raped, yes.
and she was raped. Saying that, knowing that is what happens in our. I don't want to say that's what happens. I don't want to make it sound like that is always what.
But if that was the one that was found out about, imagine how many more that was not highlighted or highlighted.
You can imagine that, boy. You go to the police to report something terrible. The mother was beaten. They went to report the mother was being assaulted by a relative or something, and you go to report that you've been assaulted physically and you get assaulted sexually, like you just literally in a sociology book, in a sociology textbook, next to the word PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, you would see incidents like that. That is the creation of monsters. And then you look around society and you ask why we have so many broken people walking around, because we had people who broke them. And
I'm
when you look at
surprised we
those
don't
people
have a
who broke
female
them,
serial killer butchering men as yet. I'm honestly
oh,
surprised.
knock on
But
wood.
you know what would have been really thing for me? Like, if you know how fast people would have flared up if it was Gary daughter that had get the full on breast group when she get her ass in trouble. You would have seen action already. You would have seen, first of all, that police officer would have been reprimanded. He would have been in the station right now facing some serious questions. You would have don't know who it was, everything. You're not seeing that same emphasis here.
To
No.
be
Why?
poor and black in this country is like a double freaking whammy, you know. It's a double whammy. To be poor and black in any society, any culture, any demographic, any diaspora, it's just you're already at a disadvantage, unfortunately. That was just the world that we live in and the world that we grew up in. And I mean, we see it. How
Yeah, but
many missing
how is
black
it?
women we know
Yeah, but
about?
it's not
And
to say that our police officers are Caucasian or Chinese and they're abusing, that is black, abusing black.
but that happening since slavery days. The house slaves and the ones who used to chum up to master. We Trinidad is a walking repeated cycle, you know. Like when we talk about things like mental slavery and all of that, it's no joke, you know. We have repeated cycles that should have been broken when the last shackle was knocked off the last man foot. Things that we hold on to now that you might as well swear this was 1652. But
Yeah,
it's
we still repeating it. Imagine
21
in
and we're here
2021. And we
doing
still have
it.
to deal with men taking advantage of people, of females in position. We still have to deal with that. You still have bosses who feel they could do that. I mean, I still have the woman who willingly would give it up and be like, yeah, but as long as you give me whatever, right? We'll always have those type of people. But
Um,
this where we feel that you could do something and you not feel a consequence from it. Wrong. You are not my husband or my man to do that to me. Who the hell are you? And because you wear a uniform, you think you have the right to do that and disguise it as, oh, you trying to what? Thing? Subdue me. The girl was already subdued. Her hands were behind her back. Yes, she was fighting up or whatever. But you telling me the other guy couldn't hold her properly? That you had to come and what? You were subduing her from her breast?
let's see if anybody, Commissioner Go Down, comes out and says anything about it. Like I said, I did not hear about it until you mentioned it this morning. And we'll see. We'll see if they see anything wrong with it and if anything is going to be done about it.
I purposely didn't say anything when I saw it yesterday because I was waiting to see who would flare up, who would have a problem with it or what. And it didn't blow up like when Gary daughter was stopped in a routine roadblock. On a stretch that always having roadblock.
The last thing I wanted to talk about was Crazy Legs, and this is not national news, but I have to say to Crazy Legs Entertainment, you have just earned my new respect. And for those who don't know, because you may not know, Crazy Legs Entertainment hit hit or slap Hans Devines or whatever his name is. No, that's his name, Hans Devines. He basically social media slapped him. In response to Hans coming out and saying that our he basically slamming male comedians who dress up like women in their skits, and Crazy Legs Entertainment, who I guess that fell in his garden, came out and slammed Hans, who is a radio personality, who is often one of the personalities on radio, encouraging a lot of very degenerative conversation, literally poisoning and watering down the minds of our nation. And he slammed them feds. And I think it was high time that we do it. It was high time that we tell some of these radio announcers, you are not experts. You are not anybody that we should be looking to for advice. You need to shut up and play music.
Yeah, I've listened to him a couple of times and I just get mad. I get instantly angry listening to him, Sonny Bling. I have a couple others. And it's
I
like,
had no idea, Hans. Like, I thought he was one back in the days when I used to watch him on Synergy. I had no idea he was so
uneducated.
Yeah. I don't know a better word for it, uneducated. And I went to a wedding. My best friend got married and he was the MC in the wedding. And I'm watching him in the wedding. And I'm thinking, for such a pretty face, because I think Hans is good looking. I'm like, for such a pretty face, you're really very stupid. Like, very, very stupid. And it is very unfortunate that the young minds of Trinidad and Tobago have to listen to you.
That is to show you how badly our education system has failed, because for our young minds to listen to that and not realize, wait, he's an idiot.
Yeah, yeah. When you listen to him and you agreeing with him, no.
I heard them giving advice on wedding, like couples, and it's like, you even have a parrot on a stick or a stable enough relationship to be able to give people advice on this?
Limbs, yesterday I think it was Boom South. I was listening to a station. Actually, let me just say that before I get a pre-action letter. You know, they like to drop letters. I was listening to a station, one of those urban stations, and a girl was calling in to complain about her brother, her boyfriend. And basically, there's some girl that he likes, or some girl that she thinks that he likes, and they're asking her, the radio announcers prodding her to find out. So you don't think he cheating on you? And she said, well, I don't know, but I think he likes her. And their response to that was, well, they might as well have a threesome. And I saying it exactly how they said it. Have a threesome. And I'm like, that's your advice?
No, it's not advice.
On national radio.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend, thinking her boyfriend cheating on her with her friend, who she's still good with, or they might as well. I'm like, listen, if this is what radio is, I would listen to YouTube on repeat. Or take
this is why I don't like listening to those urban stations, because many of them just talk shippiness, and it makes me realize that a lot of our men in that limelight, that category, is like, they need some sort of education before they go on radio. Because so what, we might as well pick up a piper and put him on the radio then. But imagine that you would get better advice from a piper than a radio personality. That is in nonsense. And they're giving advice, they're talking about relationships and it's like, my husband has put it on and he's like, no, you need to listen to this. I was like, why? To send up my pressure? Because I end up cussing the radio and be like, what shit you talking? You don't do that. You don't tell people that on radio. You don't know the age demographic listening to you. I was like, what
they
is
know the age demographic listening to them. They know the age demographic. They know that is 12 and 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds tuning into them. They know. And their
Even so,
responsibility.
what is wrong with a male dressing the part of the female character in his skit if he doesn't want to pay a female to do it? What is the problem with that? What is so wrong with so doing that? I mean, Crazy Legs don't wear makeup and all of those things and hide the beard and stuff when he's doing the female parts. You know, you could know it's him. Rhodey
Let's
does the
talk.
same thing as
Let's
well. What is the
talk
problem with that?
Tyler Perry. Let's talk Martin Lawrence. Let's talk so many.
Eddie Murphy,
Eddie
Tyler
Murphy.
Perry,
Who played Miss Doubtfire?
Robin Williams,
Robin Williams. Let's talk those people.
Dustin Hoffman did it. Look, Tim Curry played that weird character in Rocky Horror picture.
I
Why
think
are they-
Hans is just throwing Martin apples at Rudy, because Rudy on 96.1 and Rudy's show, as much as it's still an urban station, at least they don't give out such shitty advice like Han and they do on their what Makeup to Breakup is on Boom Champion, huh?
I don't know. I don't listen to Boom Champions. His players such a shit. I can't take that. And then
There's
I
a
started talking and
There's a
screaming.
show called Makeup
As
to
can't
Breakup.
take radio, as can't take it. You see the screaming and the bawling and all of that. I can't take it. That is send me up a wall.
I'm staring straight ahead at me right now through my glass windows, and I'm seeing Port of Spain City Corporation finally cleaning up Victoria Square. So maybe, just maybe, I might be able to have a picnic sometime soon. Because the
Yeah.
grass is getting out of hand, but because the square has been closed, they didn't cut it
See
in a
the
while.
need to maintain it, but thought he could maintain fake grass. Idiot.
I, as a punishment or as silent protest, I would have take my dog to go every morning on that fake grass.
Ridiculous. It's like that should have never even been a thought. You can't even maintain the play park. But you want to put fake grass on the whole of King George V? Please. You can't even maintain Port of Spain, Queen Street, Frederick Street, Duke Street. You cannot maintain it. But you talking about fake grass? Or you can't even pick up garbage properly and contain it. You're talking about fake grass? Brother, stick to all your mandate and get that done properly first before you jump to anything else.
Doll says he talking about cross dressers but telling people threesome. To be fair, he wasn't the person. Well, I can't say that he was the person that I heard last night. I don't normally hear him on the evening period. I just know that he is amongst a handful or a bunch of local media or radio personalities who.
Ain't he on the team to Road to Recovery?
That's probably why I'm not going nowhere.
Duh, because if you're thinking so, obviously we
many reasons. Hey, look at the time. It is 1:12. I have to go.
We're not going anywhere fast with them on the radio, with them giving anybody advice. We should let people know, do not call those people and ask for advice unless you want to end up dead or in more problems.
Yeah. If you have to call a radio station for advice, then you need more than advice. You probably need counseling.
Yeah.
Or if you have to call those radio stations, those.
We need therapy, mental health. Go and talk to somebody else, not them.
You know, when I really think about those stations, and I know this is what we were talking about, but when I think about it, they play such an instrumental role in shaping the minds of our young society. And for the role that they play and the fact that they take that role so, no, they don't take it seriously, it's telling that it has to be intentional what they're doing. They have to be intentionally trying to brainwash
And then they will come on and be trying to sound all apolitical, but not apolitical, and talk, well, you can't really blame the government. Of course, you could blame the government. We could
And
blame the
that's like,
government for how
when you're
stupid
dumb
you
person,
sound, because clearly you didn't finish school or you didn't focus on the academia in school. We'd be talking so much of shit on the radio.
a dumb person will say that don't blame the government, because then if we not blaming the government, who? And then a person like that shouldn't be on radio. You shouldn't be responsible for talking to the nation. Like, there should be some more responsibility, boy. Yes, though, they're damaging the youths with that stuff, because you go into the ghettos and you go into the urban communities and it's them that you're hearing blasting off on the loudspeaker. I just want to go with my loudspeaker and blast some Philip in the ears and say, listen to some sense. Listen to some truth. Listen to some facts.
Yeah.
Flush your mind out of all of the
But
bullshit.
all that foolishness that they've been talking on the radio station, and they still wouldn't say, well, let's do something with our popularity and our well-known faces. Let's let's talk about mental health. Let's get a psychologist to come on and let's talk about, the dangers of listening to the type of music that we play on society.
The best thing Whitney Husbands did for herself was to get off of Boom Champions. And Whitney, kudos to you, girl, because that would have been I think your career would have died in that cesspool. Cesspit. Cesspool. Cesspit.
Yeah, because people would have been like, Whitney who?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people who don't know her, but
she was too good for that station, and I'm glad that she is gone. I mean, she went to another urban station, but at least they aren't giving such disgusting and derogatory advice and basically seemingly intentionally brainwashing the population with messages that no self-respecting nation should want to
it's
be.
like he should just stick to talking about Carnival. Just
Yeah, some people were just made to be some people were just made to press play and stop on songs, and I think I'm probably going a little hard on him. I don't know. I used to like him, and I used to like Hans. I used to think he was a good media personality. I swear I didn't realize he was so until he went on.
It's when you become political, you realize the nonsense that they spout and you realize why they do it and for what reason. Because if you could be on the PNM's road to recovery and we still haven't seen a plan, an idea, anything, and you are supposed to be the youngest mind on it, well, we know why.
It explains a lot. You're a placeholder and you're there for flam and you're there to make the youth feel like, yeah, when are we on the team?
He's like the brown skin version of Heinz.
He's the token.
Yeah.
What do you frick Hans?
Like that well-wear dress.
What does he know about recovery? About rebuilding Trinidad and Tobago? That's why when I see people who don't know shit about politics posting about politics on social media, is the real infuriate me, because like I just want to tell you, this is not how a government is supposed to work. That's not how a country is supposed to work. That's not how things are supposed to work. What are you saying? Where are you getting your information from? When people say things like, don't blame the government, but then who? I am giving the government my tax-paying money to do the things that I hire them to do, and they're not doing it. So then who do I blame for them not doing it? Who?
Idiots who will say blame the citizens. Okay, but you have a government who could put things in place to penalize those citizens that do the wrong thing. But you have government and state agencies that doing the wrong thing. Who you want to blame? Us for that too?
Boys and girls, I keep saying I go in and I'm still here because obviously I am enjoying the conversation, but I really have to go this time, for sure.
I would love to hear them on the police group in the guild.
If you hear anything about that during the course of today or otherwise, please tag me because yeah. Oh, you know what I didn't touch on? Did you see this girl begging landlords to be lenient on
This
tenants?
girl, who Donna?
Donna.
Donna. And it's like, but Donna, you're a government minister. You could mandate that they put a halt on certain things. Like, do you not know your power, your
she's,
office?
she's on news basically crying. Please have mercy. And I'm like, Donna,
She ain't know who greedy now.
you not the minister. The tail don't wag the head, Donna. The tenants don't decide to not the landlords don't make decisions to defer rent payments or to decrease or to
Based
scratch
on her
off
crying
based on your
or
tail. They
begging.
don't. They do it based on government regulated policies, laws, bills, things that pass in parliament in the
Why
House
she
of
don't ask
Representatives.
Paris to be
Where you
lenient on
sit
the taxpayers?
as an MP for your constituency, who you're supposed to represent, whose interests you're supposed to take into that House of Representatives. That's your job, Donna.
Why she don't ask
Hey,
Paris to be lenient
why
on
doesn't
the
she ask first?
taxpayers?
Lema, you know what does get to me? When you tell a PNM person that Farris family collecting $20 million in rent every morning, that's all I go into. Wait on my leaving with you. Every time when you tell a PNM person that Farris's family collects $20 million in rent, do you know what their response to that is? Yeah, but who started the contract? It didn't start under the PP government. I say, yeah, but who is responsible for having it ongoing for more than 6 years?
It's best they just put back the PP government so they could just blame them forever and ever.
Nigel can't say she was crying more than Terrence. Yes,
Yeah,
even wept. I wept.
that's how she will come on TV pleading, please, Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, then please don't put all the people. Don't put them out now. Did you see the woman who went and sleep outside of her MP's office?
Yes, and you heard what the jackass had to say?
No.
He
Who was
said,
her
oh,
MP?
Manning,
Brian Manning?
and he said all of her claims are untrue and she was put up to doing it. And I had to post it and say, who in their right frame of mind is going to want to sleep outside of your office when it's cold and wet? So I must leave my comfortable bed, my comfortable house where I am comfortable, peace of mind, to want to sleep on your friggin' front step. If he's not an ass for saying that, I don't know what is ass, because nobody will do that. That is
Lima.
not a sane person's reaction to do anything. It's not even a point to prove or any kind of thing. UNC could not put her up to doing that.
Obviously, the UNC gave her about $10,000 and 2 phone cards and said, go and sleep outside. Yeah. That's not what that's not the ammo throw. This side throw rotten mangoes over on that side, and then that side throw rotten fig over on this side. And then we find rotten bananas and trees on that side, and then they find rotten garbage and trees on this side. And we pelting back and forth, not realizing all the time that they pelting the garbage, we in the middle and it falling on us.
How could he say that, she was put up to doing it, even if she was? My God, who will do something like that? Check the woman mental health. See what the hell is happening. Who will do that? Who will do that? The only person I know would do any kind of madness like that is the environmentalist, and he does it for a reason.
I want to believe this lady had a just reason to sleep outside of her MP office, which is that she needed help. She could not get help, and the man who was responsible for helping her
You should probably vote for.
would turn around and say they didn't even need help. is the same person whose office she went outside, and I commend her. Don't go and sleep outside the bank. Don't go and sleep outside the around the savannah and park benches. Go and sleep outside your MP house. Go by them. Go by
Why?
them.
Because
I want
they
them
will
doll
go to
with
police
us.
and
Doll, I
police
hope
will
you're
come
staying home.
and they will probably
Okay, I
grow
need to.
fat too.
They probably grew up too. I check in to see if Doll here. If Doll gone, then I know I really, really need to go. Because she usually stays she usually stays till the end. Jeffrey said with the past few weeks we've been seeing holding signs begging
Like,
for home. Yeah. That's just where we are.
and done
Running
up.
on autopilot. And yes, Johnny, I know how long I say I go in. But I really, really, I really, really go in now. Limbs, this was a great show. Thank you for staying with me way past the time. This is what we end up doing. We end up starting a few minutes late and then going on a lot extra to give you all the time to make back up. But we have gone on kind of long this morning and it is going to be a busy day. So until next week for me, boys and girls, I will be back next week, Monday. Lima is on with Hadassah this Friday. I didn't see Hadassah on this Friday, last week
No,
Friday.
she had an appointment with her mom.
Okay. All right. Well, you should have told me. Sometimes I just want to come on, Actually, one of these Fridays, you, me, and Hadassah should do it. A 3 people panel. But then I think that would have to be a 2 hour long show because that would just be too much information to cram into just 1 hour.
Well, Hadassah night is normally go longer than an hour, but yeah, you could join us. Why not?
Oh, well, show off now. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I was holding you back. All right, I go on Limbs. You all have a great day. I'll leave Lima to close off.
Okay, guys, remember we're still in a pandemic, so remember to social distance, wash your hands, social distance, and if you take your vaccine or if you choose not to, remember it is your right. Bye.